Welcome to the 68th episode of Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. I'm your host, Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo. We're getting up there in numbers, and I will also be getting up there in age. I've been denying the date for quite some time because April 1st is coming very quickly. Every year, I have no problem with my birthday whatsoever, but this one's going to be the big 5-0. And although I don't look 50 and although I don't feel 50, I hate the label of 50 because a lot of people take it as a next step towards the downfall of their ability to be lively and energetic and young. And I just feel younger and younger every day, and I think that's wonderful. But let's not talk about my birthday here. Let's talk about something more interesting. Let's talk about Star Citizen. And there wasn't a lot of news last week. All the news pretty much centers around none other than patch 1.1. But there's also something else that came out last week, and that's this. It is actually the jump point that comes out for subscribers each month. $10 or $20 a month, and you could help things like Round the Verse, Meet the Devs, 10 for the Chairman, and get these work in progresses out and these wonderful digital magazines called Jump Point. Now, the work in progress in this one, of course, is a Retaliator, which leads me to this. Yes, I put up a couple of Retaliator videos, and I put up a couple of Gladius videos, but what separated last week from the rest of the weeks I was doing that is that they are now there for everyone to see with the drop of version 1.1. So let's go into version 1.1, and let's just call this the episode where we dissect the patch. So version 1.1 came out, and a lot of the bugs that were inside of the PTU were not corrected. And it's kind of like, did they push it out to get it out because they didn't just want to correct those bugs, they wanted to get more, or maybe they couldn't find what was causing it? I don't know. Because CIG has been showing in the past that they want to hold back and deliver something that's a little bit more workable for everybody. But 1.1 came out and most people were getting this message: no match found. Now, I have been able to get in, and I got in on Saturday morning, I got in Friday night. I've made somewhere between 50 and 60,000 rec. It's not that hard to make rec, and we'll talk about that. But in the height of the day, it seems like there are no connections to the server whatsoever. Now, there could be many reasons for this. One of the reasons that it could be is that you're having more people log in than ever before. We're now over 800,000 backers. It's almost 1 million, right? That's a lot of people. And you're going from tens of thousands of people connected to hundreds of thousands of people connected. And that is something that's going to change the way the servers work. The second piece is, what is breaking it? And they don't know. And what is the symptom? Well, the symptom is you're getting into a match, the match is over, and the server's not giving up that match. So by the time everyone has been logging in and logging off and not logging in and logging off, but playing mission after mission, all the missions that they completed are holding in a state, making believe that it's still running, and there's no matches left to be found because the server's filled. So they brought more servers online. They're resetting servers in sequence every 15 minutes, and that's gotten some of us able to get on. I think it's about 15 or 20% of the time you can get on. This is not a botched patch. We're still in alpha now. We're not pre-alpha anymore, and we'll talk about that in a second. This message appeared on the boards as I was editing this piece. It seems that at 8 p.m. GMT tonight, they will be rebooting the servers with fixes that they think are going to alleviate the no match found errors that they've been having. Let's cross our fingers and hope it works. But we're in alpha, and this is a time when these things have to be found out. So why then is this patch called Star Citizen 1.1? That's a question I can't answer. The patches before this were Arena Commander, and this one is Star Citizen. And I understand that at this point they've had you remove the old install, and they've installed this new version of Star Citizen where it's going to reside forever. And there's pieces in it that aren't just Arena Commander anymore, but are the social module, the player universe, the Space Marine module. So it's got pieces of everything in it. But the version 1.1 leads people that are new and that are just learning about the game to believe that this game is out. And it's not. Why did they take a 1.1 and put it after Star Citizen instead of an alpha or a beta number like version 0.9 or version 0.1 would have been more, it would have been more correct at this point. I'm not challenging them anymore on that. Let's just get right into the patch and talk about things besides what's broken, because they are going to fix this. There's no doubt about it. They're working hard on it, and I trust that they're going to get it done because we've had this issue before. We had this issue when Arena Commander went live for the first time. There's a lot in here, and the 64-bit floating point computations are in here in a minor way. They've been added, and they'll be tested, and they'll be updated and fixed. And when they're working, we'll get bigger maps, and we'll be able to move on to version 2.0 of whatever we're going to call it at that point, where we'll have multiplayer ships. We also had a couple of other things added to it, and we're going to talk about them right now. The first thing that is going to be noticeable the minute you walk into your hangar is this. And that is a useful device that lets you get into Arena Commander. It's the SimPod. Now, when I started seeing the pictures on Sandy's Facebook, when I started seeing the pictures that were on around the verse of this, I thought it was going to be cool. It's a tin coffin. It's got no purpose whatsoever at this point. So I challenge you, Cloud Imperium Games, to up the game on the SimPod. I think that this is cool to put in there, but there should be some kind of holographic feel to it. Use the Xi'an technology that's in the card too, that makes you think that you're seeing other things, like that holographic technology in the card too. What I'd really love to see for the SimPod in the future is a small room off of your hangar. Something like the holodeck, where you go in, you sit down, all the walls are like a grid, and when you sit down, they all fill in with the space behind you, and you're in your ship. That would be incredible. For the time being, the tin coffin that's sitting in front of you is going to be one of the two ways that you get into Arena Commander. The second way is going to be by, of course, hitting the escape key, clicking on Arena Commander, and getting in from there. All right, let's move on to the next piece. And the next piece we're going to talk about is rec. I'm going to take this in 3 steps. The first one is going to be how to make rec. And here I am with my first feature talking about how to make rec and what you can expect as rec rewards from doing things like racing or battle royale, or even one of my favorite things to do right now, cooperative Vandal Swarm. When the notion of rec was introduced, I was a little concerned that it might be difficult for one to accumulate some. But as you see in these 3 examples, from coming in second in a race of 7 people, I was able to accumulate 2,096 rec here. In this Vandal Swarm co-op, I made it all the way to level 15 and was the last woman standing, and actually made over 7,000 REC. And even in this last example, in a battle royale, coming in second, I made 1,530. So fear not, rec will come, and it will come in abundance if you just play the game in multiplayer modes. Hopefully that wasn't too long. There were quite a number of different victories that I showed you off there. Even coming in second out of 7 netted me somewhere around 2036 to 2096. I can't remember that number exactly, rec, but getting to wave 15 netted me the most at over 7,000 rec. Now, something to remember is that rec is cumulative, it's saved, and it's going to go onto the persistent universe because Arena Commander doesn't go away. So let's find out what you can do with rec in this next piece as we talk about the Electronic Access Store. Hello everyone, Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous, and we're sitting over here in the Electronic Access Store. I'm going to talk a little bit about rental equipment credits. Yes, they're the credits that you have not been able to make because the patch is not giving you any kind of multiplayer matchmaking. They are working on that, which is kind of sad because it's now been 4 days since the release of the patch. But when it is fixed on the server side, you will be able to spend your credits here in the store. Now, my intention is at some point to add an Aurora to my secondary account, which right now has nothing on it, and to use it to show you how quickly you can level up, can acquire credits in order to buy a fleet of ships. Now, in the example that's on the screen right now, at the end of this race, I got 2,096 credits. And let's take a look at what that would buy at this particular point. Let's say I wanted a ship. Well, at 2,096 credits, I'm going to get the entry-level ship at $2,000, 2,000 rank. Let's talk about how they get to that price point, and we'll then lead you into a discussion about how easy it's going to be to acquire other ships, all right? So let's go into this tab right over here after we look at this. So 2,000 credits and 20 US dollars. So let's just assume that 20 US dollars buys 20,000 UEC. 20,000 UEC, 10% of which is 2,000, and that's how they're coming up with the rental cost per week of an Aurora. It's not bad. It means that you have to play the game for just a little bit. 2 hours into playing, you would have more than enough to buy any one of these ships up to the Cutlass Black and F7C Hornet. There's no reason to get the Ghost or the Hornet Tracker, as the reconnaissance/stealth mechanics and the command and control mechanics haven't even been designed, documented, or added to the game at this point. So this should be the maximum ship that you're looking to purchase. It's pretty cool, right? So let's go over here and go back and look at some weapons. And I hope to show you some gameplay on this at some point, but there's going to be things like the gimbal mounts, which are going to help those of you that are using mouse and keyboard to be much more accurate. Size 2 gimbal is going to fit a size 1 weapon. Size 3 gimbal is going to fit a size 2 weapon, and that's just part of the new mechanics for mounting weapons. I found that a lot of these weapons have been updated, so what you might have thought was not so good in the past is going to be very good now. I'll give you one example. The Sledge 2 was okay in the past, and you can pick one of those up over here for only 800 UEC. But now, it is a devastating weapon. Even though it only carries 60 rounds per box, it's devastating. And this is one of the first ones I'd pick up. For those of you that are going to stay away from the gimbal mounts and fly with a joystick like myself, the OmniSky or OS6 over here at 1,600 credits, so 3,200 credits for both, is an amazing weapon to put on a Gladius or anything that has size 2 weapon slots. And my last one that I'm going to point out here is going to be the Mantis. Anybody that has a Hornet or a Super Hornet, I will tell you that this is the easy mode weapon. This is killer. Let's take a look at what else is in the store. And right now they have shields. They will have power plants, they will have thrusters, and they will have computers and other things that are added to the game at some point in the future. But right now these are the 3 different sections that we can use. So as you see, there's a lot here. It's not too hard. When you want to add them to your cart, just add them to your cart and then check out, and you will be charged only the UEC that you have on hand. I'm not going to go into my account because I want to keep it private, but that's as simple as spending UEC can be. So you might ask, and I'm going to pause it here for a second, well, how does this UEC stuff work? I mean, REC, sorry. How does this REC stuff work? If I rent it, how do they account for the time I spend with the product? Well, just give me a moment and we will log into my account. This is a new area of the hangar, and it's called My ROMs. The hangar that has your real stuff in it is called My Gear. And in here you'll see that there's a countdown. And each time you log in and use the device, that's what it's supposed to be, and that's not how it's working for me right now. You'll be using one of your 24-hour tokens, and you get 7 tokens for each weapon or ship or system that you purchase. So I purchased these on, I believe it was Saturday morning. I purchased all this stuff, and it is now 3 days later, and I'm almost done with my first 3 tokens. I've been playing with these quite a lot. And these I bought yesterday. So you'll see that you can find out here how much it's going to cost you to continue to purchase these. Let's just go down here. I believe this was 7,000 REC, I think. And there is a discount. I think it's a 20% discount. And that discount is going to allow you to purchase it at a lower cost, or rent it at a lower cost for the next week. Very happy with the way they implemented this. It gives me hope that in-game things aren't going to be overly inflated prices to drag money out of the economy in those ways. There is a need to drag money out of the economy in-game so things don't go up in value, but I don't want to be looking at having to play the game for hours and hours and hours just to buy a ship that I need to own and fly to be able to take part in realistic missions in the game. Well, that's all I got. Let's get back to the rest of the show. Well, the Electronic Access Store was actually one of the things that I was happiest about. Things aren't that expensive in there, and the fact that you get those 7-day tokens, which I don't believe are working correctly at this point. They should only be turned on when you use something in that 1 day. At least that's the way that Ben explained it to me. That will be a question on today's 5 for Ben Lesnick, which I've been told I asked more than 5 questions, so I should change the name. I may just start calling it Tuesdays with Ben. If you like that, put it down below. But I am very happy with the way that they implemented REC and Electronic Access, and I can't wait to see more weapons, more systems, and more ships that we could all rent and use in Arena Commander. All right, let's move on to the second piece, which is the third piece, which is going to be the new holo table. It's not the new holo table that they showed us the concept art for. It's actually just a very minor update, and let's see how they updated it here. Hello everyone, and for this feature we're just going to talk a little bit about the holo table, which has had a minor change to it. In the past, you'd walk up to the holo table, you'd hit F to activate it, and then you'd have to at some point hit the tab key to activate your cursor to be able to move around and select things. Now it's a one-click process, but you want to make sure, because it takes a couple of seconds for the holo table to activate, that you're standing in front of it in the right manner. And right about here is where you want to be. Look down, make sure you're not on the carpet, give yourself about that much distance, maybe that much distance. Hit the F key, and it takes a few seconds. And there you have it, you're inside. And then you can go through and you can pick your ship and figure out what you want to do with it. Here is, let's go to the F7CM. And if you remember in the prior feature we showed, we actually bought the mantises. I've already been in here and added them to the ship, but you can see using the right mouse button now is how you can move your ship into position to get the items. It is a little awkward at first, you get used to it, and there you go. Pretty easy, right? And of course you have all these different sockets that you can play with, weapons, ammo, power, and it will show you the different items, though it's not showing the shields on this one. Shield is here. If I go back to the beginning where I see the ship, I could see the shield there. But since there's no upgrade type for this ship at this point, they're not going to show it. And right down to the thruster. Now over time, they are going to start giving us more weapons and equipment and different systems to try out on the ship. One of the things that's not here, of course, is cooling, right? So when we go into the ship menu here, we can see the cooling area right. See if we can see it in the top piece. I know I've seen it before. And here's the coolers here. And they do not come out at this point, but you can't help but believe that since they're being shown here, that at some point you will be able to upgrade them. So that's the minor update for the holo table. It's a little bit better. It's definitely not the holo table that I find wonderful. I'm still waiting for that concept art that they showed us to be used in the game. But until that happens, this just seems a little bit easier to use than the last holo table, at least for me. All right, let's get back to the rest of the show. The holo table is definitely not one of my favorite things in the game right now. It's kludgy, it's a little bit non-intuitive, it takes a little bit to do what you want to do, and I can't say anything really positive except for things look cool inside of it. I think that where they're going with the concept art that they showed us over the last few months is a much better way, and I can't wait till they implement that. But I'm not going to hold them to getting that done until the bugs are worked out of this patch, the FPS module is dropped on us, and we're in the social module. After all that, then they can get to this because it's not really that big of a deal. The fact that they updated it is a telltale sign that they're listening to us and trying to make it better for us. All right, so we talked about those three things. We talked about the issues. Well, we also had a couple of other things introduced. And the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about here, I've done a couple of videos on it, but let's talk about this beautiful ship up here. Star Citizen is all about the ships, right? It's all about these gorgeous ships that they've created that are living and breathing and realistic and just gorgeous. And the Retaliator is one of those that is just over the top impressive. I love this ship behind me, and I think it is a wonderful one. And please, if you do want to see more about the Retaliator, go to the video that I had up earlier in the week where I reviewed it. I didn't give you a lot of the specs on it because I expect them to change before Squadron 42 goes live in December, but I did give you my impression of it, and I walked through every corridor into every single compartment, and we talked a little bit about it. So take a look at that. The next ship, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite ships in the game, is the Gladius. Gladius is fast, it's nimble, it can carry a wallop of a punch if you change out the standard weapons it comes with. I believe it comes with 2 CF007s. If you take those off and put the OS6s, which are the Omniski or Omnisky 6s, you're going to have a lot more power. Second piece on this, and I talk about this in the review up there, and you could click on the review to hear it, is that Gatling gun in the front, their Gatling mechanics are like from the CWIS mounts and other things that are on ships. When the A-10 or an F-15 or any modern day fighter pulls a trigger on a Gatling gun, they're electric and they initially have a shot that's fired immediately. It may take a few seconds for the Gatling gun to wind up to speed to give it its full rounds per minute, but it's firing the minute that pilot pulls the trigger. That's not true for these. So I've taken that off the front of the ship and I've put on the sledge. And the sledge is an amazing weapon. You don't want to use it as your primary. You want to use it as your get out of jail card. And what it does is it just vaporizes things that are in front of it. It is a wonderful weapon to put as a secondary weapon. Those two primaries, the two OS6s, are going to make that ship amazing. I can't wait till they give us the opportunity to change out different systems on it, because I think this is going to be one of those ships that's a sleeper. And you may ask me, well, if you're putting two OS6s on it and you're putting a sledge on the front, doesn't it sound a lot like a 325? Yeah, it does. And it is a lot like a 325, only it's just a little bit more nimble and a little bit faster and carries a few more missiles. It is an amazing fighter. So I'm not telling you to go out there and get one, but what I am telling you is that these two ships are for sale right now, and that's why I'm talking about it. With that said, let's move on to this week, all right? Because I don't want to get into every single piece of what's going on in the patch until things get fixed. And then we'll talk about some of the new modes, and that's what we're going to do in just 1 second after these. But there is another ship coming out, and that's at the end of the week. It's the Vanguard, and it's going to sell for $250. Now, I want to give you my take on this. I'm not always that fangirl that says, wow, Star Citizen is awesome and CIG are just the gods of developers. No, they fail too, and I call them out on it. But I saw the concepts of the Vanguard when I got to tour CIG headquarters in Santa Monica. And I don't know which one was picked because I got to see before Chris actually started the artist down a different direction, I hope, or down a good direction. But what I did see about it is that this is going to be something that's around Redeemer size, and it has a lot of weapons on it. So remember, when you buy a ship like this, it's going to be different than buying a ship in the game. In the game, you're going to buy the hull, and then you're going to have to buy all the weapons for it. When you're pledging for the game, thus helping to support the game get made, they're giving you a ship that's already decked out with weapons and shields and power plants and CPU and maneuvering jets and things that make sense to give you an edge in the game right off the start. $250, I'm telling you, when you see this, is going to be worth it for this ship. It's right in that same class with the Redeemer, right in that same class with the Constellation. It's going to be amazing. And I hope to God that I am correct on this because, like I said, I didn't see all of the, I didn't see the whole concept. I saw the beginning stages of it. He had 3 versions, and I don't know which one Chris picked. Could have been any one of them. And each one of them was good, but one was excellent. That's all I can tell you. So the last piece is going to be something that's going to have to be done by us in every single game that we play inside of the Star Citizen universe. Well, not game, in every mission. It's going to be landing. So I have a very short tutorial on how to land in the Star Citizen universe right here. Hello everyone, Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous, and we're going to give a very short landing tutorial. First things you need to know are going to be how to enact the landing mode. That is going to be with the N key. The M key will now make it automatic, or it will make it manual. Currently it is set to manual. Either the middle mouse button or the joystick's secondary fire button will activate or request permission for landing. I'm going to do that now, and you can see that it's not working because we're not close enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to get closer to the landing pad. Now, I just chose the landing pad it gave me. I could actually point at one using the N key and it will give me that one. As I get closer, you'll see, now that I hit the middle mouse button, has activated the landing mode. The one thing it doesn't do is reduce the throttle, or I should say the thrust in my maneuvering jets. So what I do implore you to, and what I will implore you to do, is to use the manual, not the manual, but the automatic mode. Hit the M button, and let's go to the outside view and show you what happens. It just very, very, very calmly settles down onto the tarmac. So we're on the platform, and we could actually get out, float around, and jump around if we want to. Let's get back on the ship. Let's show you what happens when we try to do it ourselves. So we're going up, and we're going to go to the next 1 or 2 over. We're going to activate the landing mode with N. And we are now in manual mode. We have the OK to land. We are going to move forward, and we are going to try our best. Right now we're perfect for landing. And we're going to get ourselves down, let the landing gear deploy. And I'm going to switch to the outside just to show you how this is going to look in this manner. Okay, so we want to get that up a little bit, and let's get closer and explain to you what I mean. So right now, if we were actually in, we would want this to be as light as possible, but it actually slams down on the tarmac, making a loud noise. Not exactly the best way to land, but if you have to land manually, that is pretty simple. So landing isn't very difficult in the game. I can't wait till we get our asteroid hangar to practice this in like they promised us. Currently, you have 8 pads, 1 on either side of the big superstructure in either one of the 2 maps, Broken Moon or the Dying Star. pretty simple. And what I'd like you to do is to send into starcitizenaa@gmail.com the wackiest photos or wackiest screenshots of your attempted landings. I'd seen some pretty wacky ones lately. People landing on top of other people, people landing and being halfway through the, clipping through the platforms. I'd love to see what you have. With that, let's get back to the show. You may be asking why I put that one after the other two. It's because the Gladius and Retaliator actually led right into another ship that's going to be going on sale. So landing in the universe is actually pretty cool if you do it automatically, but something has to be done that when you start to land and you're doing it manual mode, that your thrusters get turned down to 10 or 20% so you don't slam into the ground like most of us have been doing. Automatic landing, though, is amazing. Manual, it takes a really light touch, and you just don't have the opportunity to lower the power output on those thrusters, and that's something that they need to do, because it is done in Elite Dangerous, and I know that they can do it. So we're going to go right into Sandy's What's on Sandy's Facebook, and then we're going to close out the show. Today's What's on Sandy's Facebook is short and sweet, and that's because it's only been a few days since the last episode. So let's get into the first image, which is here, and it is another one of her, which one of these different logos would you like for a Castak arms? And she wants you to answer that question. This is a really big mass driver, and it has a recoiling barrel, and that's pretty cool. And the last one that she has up there is another one of the which one of these logos is better. So get out there, go to her Facebook, and give her an idea of which one you might like. So each week I bring you the sneak peeks that Sandy puts on her Facebook. I'm leaving out the one of her on the film that she's starring in. And with that, let's get back to the show. All right, this is a long show. I'm sorry. It's been a really busy week. And let's just close this out correctly, all right? So we've got a sale coming up this week, and we have the 2 sales that are already going on, ending a week from yesterday. So you have Gladius, Retaliator, and Vanguard that are all going to be for sale over the next week. Which one should you pick? That's a hard question to answer, because only one of them can you fly right now. And I would suggest go out there, make some wreck if you don't own a Gladius, and get the Gladius inside of the Arena Commander's electronic access store and see if you like it. If you do, definitely buy it. As far as the Retaliator, you're not getting any kind of a, you're not getting a really big advantage to buying it right now, because it's not flyable and there really isn't a mechanic for it in the game. You might want to wait for it to actually hit Arena Commander or Star Citizen 2.0, where they'll probably put it up for sale again. The Vanguard, however, you do have some benefit to buying early. You're going to get LTI on it. You're going to get a couple of pieces of hanger flare. You're going to get a poster, and then you're going to get the model. And you're going to get a really good ship. The second piece of that is, what do you want to do in the universe? Do you want to be a bomber? Do you want to be a fighter pilot? Do you want to be a somebody that moves goods from A to B? Each one of them has a purpose, so make sure that you pick the one that fits yours. And of course, thank you all my patrons for helping to make this possible. Without you, I don't know if I'd be able to get this done as often as I do. Thank you very much. All right, guys, with that said, there's only one thing left to do. Well, that's when my roommate would normally be over there and say, start drinking seriously. But instead of that, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.